Now we will move on to the special meeting of the Glendale City Council being called to order at 3:23 on February 15th. And all of the COVID protocol continues for the health and safety of the community. The boards and commission meetings will continue to be closed to the public, and you can view it on the streaming stations and our website. So with that, roll call, please.
Councilmember Agajanian.
Present.
Rotman.
Here.
Kasakian.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
And Mayor Devine.
Here. What's next, please?
The agenda for the Tuesday, February 15, 2022 special public meeting of the City Council was posted on February 9, 2022 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. And that agenda item, please.
Number 1 would be community development regarding award of contract to update the citywide bicycle transportation plan. A motion authorizing the city manager to execute a professional service agreement with Bureau Happold Consulting Engineers Incorporated to update the citywide bicycle transportation plan. Resolution of appropriation appropriating $75,977 from the unassigned general fund balance to the Community Development Department for use in funding the citywide bicycle transportation plan update.
Thank you. Mr. Galanian?
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of City Council, the award of the contract to this consulting company is a critically important step towards the staff's goal and the City Council's goal of updating our citywide bicycle transportation plan, which will work as a guide map and direction for providing safe bicycle facilities for our citizens. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Bradley Calvert, our Assistant Director of Community Development, to go over some briefly background and selection process of this consultant and open it up for questions.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor Devine and members of the City Council. As acknowledged, we are here to request authorization to enter into a contract for the update of the bicycle transportation plan. The existing bicycle transportation plan was adopted in October of 2012, and there was a strong focus on Class 2 and Class 3 bicycle facilities. Class 2 are bicycle lanes that are unprotected, but they are separate from the right-of-way for automobiles. Class 3 are noted by sharrows, which essentially is painted icons on the street to direct cyclists in terms of routes, but also to make drivers aware of routes for cyclists and to be aware that cyclists may be on the road. A lot has changed in that 9-10 year period that we're now on. And that's really the impetus for the update of the bicycle transportation plan. Much research has indicated that these facilities are less effective in creating a safe environment, particularly when we're trying to encourage all users of the bicycle facilities and not just those who may be a little more experienced or comfortable in a situation or a condition that may not be as safe. The original plan did include.
Calvert,
yes.
Can I interrupt you for a second? Mm-hmm. Do you have a PowerPoint that's up supposed to?
I do. Can you see that?
We can. Can you share the screen, please?
I do see it. I'm seeing it.
I see it. It's very small. You're just seeing. Are you seeing it on the full screen?
Yes.
Oh, I'm not seeing it on the full screen. I'm sorry.
Click on it. Maybe it'll open up. Tech team.
Where are you?
Mayor.
IT.
And bye, everybody. Thank you.
Can you see a full screen now, Mayor Devine?
I cannot.
But I see it on my computer and on TV also. I have a TV. I'm in the studio, so I see it.
Well, let me put my TV on and let me do that down. That'll make it easier for everyone. Hold on. I'll get with you in a second. Okay, I'm good now, Bradley. Go ahead.
Great.
Go ahead. Thank you. Sorry about that.
As part of that original bicycle transportation plan, there are a number of other recommendations that were included as well. There's elements such as wayfinding, bicycle racks, things that are really intended to create a safe environment, a comfortable environment, and provide the amenities that make cycling convenient for most users. So one of the reasons to update the plan, as we noted, this plan is 10 years old. There have been changes in best practices. We also need to coordinate this with a number of other plans and projects that are going on. As council is aware, we recently adopted our citywide pedestrian plan. So this really makes sense and good timing to update the bicycle transportation plan, again, in that effort to create a safe, active transportation environment. As noted, there have been significant changes in the best practices. Class 4 bike lanes. This would be a separate or a protected route. It could still be it is still in the right of way, but it is protected. That can be done in a number of different ways, and we'll see that as we kind of develop the plan. But really kind of pivoting from looking at unprotected facilities to things that are safer for all users. If you recall our West Glendale Sustainable Transportation and Land Use Study, that called for protected bicycle lanes on Glen Oaks, really again in that effort to try to create a safer environment. This plan will also seek to integrate with a number of other mobility projects. As mentioned, the West Glendale Sustainable Transportation and Land Use Study is going forward. The Metro BRT, which is also part of that same corridor, so making sure that we're aligning our active transportation plans with other modes of transportation, such as public transit. We are currently engaged in the Vertigo Wash Visioning Study, which identifies that as potentially a primary spine for cyclists and pedestrians, as well as the streetcar, which is a report that City Council will see in the first week of March, the final report for that feasibility study. Some of the objectives for an updated bicycle transportation plan would also be to increase access to active transportation funding, having an up-to-date plan, one that reflects best practices, one that matches well with all of our other plans, including the pedestrian plan and other studies, would increase our opportunities to be able to pursue funding. This would also really focus on creating a modern, by looking at those best practices, but an equitable, efficient, and safe bicycling network. Something that can be used by riders of all comfort levels, really trying to increase access and opportunity across the city through alternative modes of transportation, but also the integration with other modes and enhanced connectivity. Those are key. As we discussed previously when we presented the West Glendale plan, that was really focusing on how do we improve north-south and east-west connections for cyclists, with the idea that we're connecting to activity centers, to employment centers, to significant nodes, and that these facilities are not just kind of discrete moments in our network, but something that leads to a broader, more comprehensive network that increases access and opportunity. So as part of the RFP process, we had received authorization from council on October 19th of 2021 to release the RFP. We released that RFP a week later on October 25th. We left that open until December 9th for proposals. We received a total of 6 proposals. And during the evaluation scoring criteria, which was done by Planning, Mobility, and Public Works, 3 firms were identified as those that kind of rose to the top. That was Crandall Arambula, Nelson Nygaard, and Burrow Happold. Staff is recommending to enter in a contract with Burrow Happold given their strong technical competence. They have a proven track record with projects that have achieved success, ones that have been successful in creating a strong bicycle transportation network. They have a very strong understanding of a relationship between planning and mobility, and that's really looking at land use and active transportation, making sure that our facilities are in places where people want to go, where people need to go, where we're planning for in the future. They also brought a very strong sub-consultant team as part of their organization. This includes companies that are leaders in bicycle transportation planning, public engagement, environmental review, and again, that cohesion with land use and planning. That sub-consultant team includes Tool Design. They are a national leader in standards for bicycle transportation planning. They have developed AASHTO guidelines and NACTO standards for bicycle transportation planning. These are official standards that are used for kind of design criteria and best practices. Catherine Padilla Associates would be the public engagement lead, and then MIG would be assisting with CEQA, any environmental review, and land use. So a very strong team, a very well-rounded team of very technically competent and experienced professionals. So this process, following this council session, if council authorizes staff to engage and execute this contract, we will finalize the scope of work. We would like to be able to form our stakeholder and technical advisory working groups within the coming months once we have finalized that contract. We would like to be able to make sure that our stakeholder group is reaching those that are users, but also those that are not users of facilities, and then looking at that technical advisory group to really kind of hone in on how are we creating a network and a system that can be used efficiently and safely. We plan to develop a very robust and equitable outreach plan as part of this. We have heard comments and feedback regarding the prior plan and where we could learn and be stronger in our public engagement and in our involvement with stakeholders in the community. So we'll seek to improve on that as part of this plan. Again, really focusing on users and non-users. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions from council?
I don't have question. I want to move the item if it's possible.
Madam Mayor?
Okay, I think let's hear.
Fire, Mr. Agatoni.
I will allow you to move the item as soon as we hear from other council members. Council member, who spoke first? Brotman?
Okay, I don't have any questions really, but I wanted to thank staff for this, and it really does look very exciting. And I'm told from people that are in this world of bicycle planning that Borough Happold is an excellent firm, and I think some of the subcontractors that they're going to be working with are also very, very strong. So looks like staff has made a really great decision here, and I would just emphasize again, as I have in the past, that we really should be de-emphasizing this notion that sharrows, that I guess class 3 bike facilities or sharrows are bike infrastructure, because I think maybe they are on smaller streets, but sharrows on a larger street with fast moving cars just is not bike infrastructure. That's worth speaking about. And I would just say, again, I think having a robust bike network that makes people feel safe enough to come out and use their bike to get around town, people that are not experienced, and people doing things that are, kind of errands, utilitarian uses of the bicycle, commuting, going to school, getting kids out. I mean, that I think can be so impactful to us. And, we know that traffic congestion isn't going to get any better unless we give people, good alternatives to getting in their car to do the small things that they do around Glendale. So I think this is super important, really excited, and really looking forward to seeing what they come up with and then seeing us execute on it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Anyone else?
Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Kasakian?
Thank you. I also want to thank staff for having done the work to present this consultant to us for us to move forward with. And I do think that, I echo a lot of the things that Councilmember Brotman said, particularly in terms of sharrows, which I haven't deemed as being effective. I know that in maybe some other communities they may be, but on those high traffic streets, they don't tend to be effective, and if anything, they potentially endanger the bicyclists, and my preference would be for those type 1. It's time for Glendale to have those type 1 separation bike routes to make bicyclists feel safe, as well as, let's remember, it's also for the benefit of the drivers as well, and as well as pedestrians. We need to have a multimodal vision of how people move around the city and the region. One thing I do want to request, because I know that this is just a first step in the process and there's many more steps to move along with. In the report, there was this part where, and I wrote down, there's mention of the citywide pedestrian plan, the West Glendale Sustainable Transportation and Land Use Study, the Verdugo Wash Visioning, and the Metro NoHo Pasadena BRT project. Now, I'm sure these things actually mean something to individuals who are in planning, and I call this planning speak. But to a layperson like me, I don't know what the difference between a plan, a study, a visioning, and a project actually are, especially when they're all mentioned in the same sentence. I'd like to ask staff, in order to make this simple for the public to understand, so we're not in our municipal bubbles, ourselves included on the council on this horseshoe, to let folks have a glossary, whether it's on our website. I mean, people should know, especially as we're moving forward and there's, a lot of voices that want to be heard, to know what each of these terms means and where in the process that means we are as a city towards realizing our goals. I think that would be helpful. I don't know if my colleagues would agree with that, but to have some sort of glossary or even, and this doesn't just go for planning, for across all our divisions when we make presentations, to make sure that we're putting it in terms that the layperson, that average stakeholder, resident understands, or can at least look up someplace to understand what they mean.
Thank
Anyone?
you. Thank you, Councilmember Kasakian, for your comments. Anyone else?
Just a question, was there something that he needed a second on, or?
Well, I don't know if that's just direction that staff can
I
take
think
and
it was a
incorporate, or
suggestion.
if anyone, or if it does need a
Just
second.
suggestion to staff.
Madam Mayor, member of City Council, we don't need a second. We can just change that routinely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, good job, Mr. Calvert and staff. And Mr. Calvert, you're a biker, aren't you? A cyclist?
Occasionally. My brakes are broken right now, so it's been a little while.
Okay, well, I was going to say that I was glad to have you at the helm of this, since you have some experience. I think one of the most important parts of this whole project, this whole plan, is the outreach, and I know that you realize the importance of that. And so let's make sure that the outreach is strong and enough that we reach as many residents who bike, who cycle, and who don't cycle, so that we get a good idea of what people want and what they think is important. When was this last updated?
Well, the plan was originally adopted in 2012.
2012. So it's time, past time. Okay, very good. I think we have a motion from Councilmember Agajanian. Do we have a second? I'll second.
I'll second it.
Councilmember Brotman. Roll call.
Councilmember Agajanian,
Yes.
Brotman,
Yes.
Kasakian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Mayor Devine.
Yes. And what's next, please?
Next would be adjournment.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
And we have a second from Mr. Kasakian, and we are adjourned at 3:41. Thank you. Moving on to City Council.
Madam Mayor, we don't have closed session today.
Oh, we don't?
No.
Oh, you're right. Okay, then we are adjourned for the afternoon, and we'll see you all at 6.
It's 6.
Thank you.